Hi, just ask yourself, are you confused with which one is the latest Baofeng radio model and what are the differences between them? Well, I am confused too, because it doesn't seem to follow any logical, orders. For example, we had the UVB5 and B6 last year, and now this year we have the UVB2. There are other issues, for example the band button we had on the original UV5R, which then rubs off and changes colour to white. Now we see a return of it. Why? Another question I have is about the plus. Why do you put a plus next to it when I haven't seen the original UVB2 yet? Now, is that to make up the space so you can print out a nice long label? I'm not so sure. And yet again, we have a radio that's advertised to have 8 watts of output power, it says here, and 4,800 milliamp hours of lithium-ion battery, but it's roughly the same size as the original one. The annoying thing is, not only I'm thinking they're lying about the output, but they are also making it more awkward to have any kind of consistent accessories, aftermarket ones, to have this new model. So now you get where I'm coming from. The Baofeng has got hundreds of different models and he's making us all confused, but really, is this radio worth considering? Annoyingly so, I like this model, and I think this is probably the one I will go and buy myself. This particular radio you see in the video was given to me by Gearbest, a company based in China, and they've posted this in a lightning fast speed of just a week. I don't know how they did it, but it was DHL. Anyway, I thought I'd have a look at this radio and see if there's any potential in getting these into the UK market. However, for the time being, you can purchase this radio from the link provided in the description. It's not my site, but at the moment that's the only place, or one of the few places, you can put your hands on one of these UVB2 Plus. Okay, so I have said a few negative things about Baofeng as a manufacturer, or the kind of patterns they've been following in terms of a facelift here, a revised battery case there. I think if you really have to pick on these radios, I mean, they're £30 each, so what can go wrong? Now, like I said, I'm personally not believing the 8 watt or the 4,800 milliamp hour battery, which is going to be amazing if they could pack it all into this smaller case. But let's talk about why I like this model. Now, first of all, the two-toned colour scheme. I like it. I think this silver doesn't look as cheap as some of the metallic look front plates. So it's kept the kind of quite modest, but at the same time giving it a little bit of a fresh look. The keypad is exactly the same as before, and I don't see the point of changing them, but the actual buttons are a little bit bigger than some of your other UV5R models. So if you're used to one of the Baofeng radios, you will find this exactly the same. Like I said, this band button, we can get rid of it, but at the moment, it's not sticking out as much as the older models, so maybe it's not an issue anymore. Now you have to read the manual if you don't use a Baofeng radio to understand what this button does. A circle. I mean, come on Baofeng, you could at least put some information next to it so you know what this button does. Now I can tell you, this is to switch between a VFO mode and the memory mode, and that's it. On top of the radio you have this dial. Now it hasn't got the rubber ring next to it, so you can't kind of accidentally turn the volume down or up like I did on the GT3. So this is quite easy to reuse button or dial. On top, this now becomes quite standard now. All these torch on the Baofeng and a lot of other Chinese radios. It's got the lens cover there on the new LED. So it's the same as the GT3, the B580T, the A52, etc, etc. So it's a little bit of newer design. Now let's have a look at the antenna. Now Baofeng has brought out so many different types. Well, actually 2 different types of antenna. One is this kind of slightly longer one, and another one is the stubby rubber duck one that we saw on the original UV5R models. Now the problem is not about the antenna, it's about when you want to fit an aftermarket one. Now when you take this one off, you can see how much deeper the actual SMA connection is inside the casing. Now it's not so much a problem with the factory antenna, or if you go for one of the Nagoya, slim Nagoya ones, but you're going to have an issue with trying to put a bigger based antenna inside this connection, this housing. You got 40 options, go up and down using these buttons. And what steps do we have? Oh, it's got a 2.5K step, 5, 6.25, or the usual 12.5 where I'd like to leave it. Now it doesn't say it's 8 watt or 5 watt. It's got a high, a low. So to me it doesn't look like it's done much to it. So I would think it's a 5 watt radio, unless some of you have the gears to check it. So in terms of the manual operation, it's the same as the UV5Rs, and you will find yourself finding the right places, going to the right places without too much hassle. If you do want to read the manual, it's there. It's got a different look to it. Here you are, upside down. There it is. And it's been written pretty much the same as the original one, except a few different photographs or pictures inside that features the actual radio model rather than the older style. So again, you can see that it looks pretty much just like our radio here. From my experience working with these Chinese made, or at least Baofeng radios, is the batteries are pretty good. Although the standard one used to be 1800 milliamp hours, they do last a very long time. So that's not going to be a negative, I think, for this model either. The buttons here on the side are actually really nice, rubber buttons rather than plastic. The middle one is plastic, but the top and the bottom one is rubber. And you can't really accidentally activate these keys. I mean, the PTT is quite easy to press, but some of the models, you have large exaggerated keys on the side. What happens is you accidentally touch it, you activate the torch, or some annoying features. To summarize, I think this radio will perform just as well as the other UV5Rs, and for a couple of negative little issues, I'm not really going to complain much, because again, you're only paying £30 for the radio. For example, this speaker microphone rubber cover. Now, the actual connection's been put too far down, too low in this position, so when you plug things in, like your headphones, this rubber case is going to be pushed against and it's going to open and stick up like this. I mean, you can turn it round and try to flip it down, but then you haven't got enough room to really hide it. So I'm not really sure if the designers had thought about that. A couple of little details to draw your attention to. One is the belt clip, which is different to all the other radio models. Another one is the battery, the charger, the charging desktop charging base, which is only kind of good for this model. Now you can charge the battery on its own or charge the radio and the battery together, like the other radios. Soon I'll be able to upload a video to compare the performance of this one against the older models. Thanks for watching, and I do hope you enjoy this one. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, and if you have any question, leave a comment, and if you want to follow other development, if you like, of handheld radios, please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.